please make sure your phones are on vibrate or off. Okay. It's now 5:19. We're a little behind the 5:15 mark, but we'll bring this meeting is back in order. And at this time, what we're going to do is move on to public comment on these matters. I'd like for everybody to be aware there's a 3-minute time limit. It's going to be held strictly. Also, I'd like for you to state your address, and the reason for that is because I'd like to know, and I think it's important, who lives in the county and who lives in the city. So we'll get, there he is. So let's get public comment going now. Yes, sir. What? It's 5. Excuse me, I said 3. 5 minutes. Sorry, Lance. After you. Sorry.
Go a couple more feet there.
I thought I put the
I was just pulling this up. I could get by.
Mr. Powell, I believe that
He passed me on.
he did. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I wouldn't cut in front of him.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, council, Mr. Mayor, Joseph Paladin. I'm the president of Black Swan Consulting and Entitlement. Also, I'm a builder and a developer here in the area.
And your address, sir?
My address is 6450 Tropical Way, Vero Beach, Florida.
Thank you, sir.
Let me get into the development part of this. I have nothing against the developer that's up here speaking himself. Matter of fact, I've done that same speech several times on projects I brought forward. It's fine. There's nothing negative. Let's just talk about development in general compared to doing this deal with the county. There's several projects out here that are sitting here dead. They're sitting here dead because development never went through. And there's a lot of money invested in them. You got Blue Water Bay, there's moss growing on the wall. You got Liberty Park, they got $60 million invested in that project, and nothing's growing there but weeds. You got Bristol Bay, Orchid Quay now, over $50 million invested in that. And when the developer was going to bring that forward, he did several other developments in the area. Very well known, very well respected. And he had a $130 billion hedge fund out of California that was going to finance the project. 60 days before he went to break ground on the project, they said, well, they sent a consultant here from California who didn't even know how to get to Vero Beach, by the way. And they looked around for a day or so and said, there's no absorption rate there. We can't make money there. And they pulled the rug. Now, they had $700,000 in deposits on pieces of property around that parcel that went hard. And went hard means they can't get the money back. They walked away from it. The development's still sitting there. They had drawings, they had videos, they had renderings, hundreds of thousands of dollars in marketing. So they had plenty of money out of California. I know a lot about that development because I'm the developer that made the presentation. And after they pulled the funding back, there was just nothing we could do. I mean, I'd still like to do it, but there's no guarantee any developer is going to follow through with the project. Not because he doesn't want to, not because he's not a great home builder or a great builder. Just because of that's the aura of the development industry. You just don't know. And like I said at one other time, you got risk and reward. You got very little risk with the county. You know what the reward is. It can always go up. It's not going to come down because you got that guarantee. With a developer, I mean, any developer, I'm not speaking against this developer, it's all a risk. It's a big risk for a reward that you don't know if it's going to be there. Now, what would be worse is to have a development start there, maybe never get finished, lose the aura of historic Dodgertown, and then you've got a loss instead of even an equal. You don't have that risk with the county. You know the county can close. You know the county's going to close. Chairman OBrien and Jason Brown said the guarantee is going to close. They signed the contract. You know you got that. You don't know what's going to happen in this. And I look at the contract. This is what I do for a living. With this contract, this is what we basically set up. It can be a flip contract. It says that them or their heirs or their assignees. It means they can take 90 days due diligence, which is what I've done before, sometimes in that position. You shop the contract to bring an investor in or bring another buyer in. You got no guarantees. The county's going to guarantee they're going to close on this piece of property. And if they do bring Major League Baseball in, which is a good chance they will, because I know sort of what's going on behind the scenes, that'll be big for this area. And you don't lose that aura of historic Dodgertown. That's huge. huge. Now listen, it's been said that, well, why would a developer represent the county, be against another developer? So, Mr. Paladin, what's in it for you? Listen, I guarantee you, I have no interest in this property. I'm not going to ever develop this property, and I sent a letter to the county and signed it. No, never. I'll never develop this property. You got that in writing. Secondly, about 12, 13 years ago, Russ Lemon asked me, Mr. Paladin, there's nothing in this for you. Why are you doing this? Makes no sense. Listen to me. Here's what I told him 12 years ago. Russ, this is my last stop in life. This is my last stop. So I want to do the right thing. And I think the right thing here is to support the county and stand behind the county. There's the least amount of risk in that and the most amount of success, not because of who the developer is, because of development in general. You don't have proof of funds. I don't know what banking statements or banking history you have. We had to provide all that anytime I bought an expensive piece of property. You got proof of funds with the county. They signed the contract. You know they can write the check. No question they're going to write the check. And you're still going to get the revenue that they're bringing in from what they have there now. And plus, it can be better. It's like I said before. You got that ad on TV. I'm just finishing up. Wouldn't it be nice to have something where your stock could always go up, never come down? That's the stock you got with the county. It can always go up. It can't come down. If you roll the dice with a developer, you not only can be in a place where your stock can go down, but you can depreciate the piece of property you got there, which is the aura of historic Dodger town. So I think the right thing to do, leave you with this, do the right thing, do the deal with the county. Thank you very much.
Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jason Redman, 410 38 Square Southwest in York County. I'm the Vice President of the local Cal Ripken League, co-founder of the local Foundation Gators football league that's playing out of Gifford right now. And I grew up here. You know, that nostalgia, you talk about Dodger Town, I think my generation is probably the last one. My kids don't really know. They didn't get a chance to live that life at Dodger Town that I did with spring training and all that stuff. And this grip that the county supposedly has with Major League Baseball, it's been around since I was still in school. If they haven't done it then, guys, you haven't done it now. It's not going to happen. Okay, you guys wanted to play ball, you should have played ball with us. We got 1,000 kids playing baseball with us. If they wanted to play ball, they should have jumped on. You guys did. We are so happy that you did, because now we have an illustrious park over here, and we have a lease with you guys, and people are playing baseball. And we're bringing real money into this area. Not this fake money, not this Major League Baseball stuff that they've been talking about since 2004, when they thought they were going to bring the Orioles here, and they didn't let the right people negotiate the right way. They got in the midst of it, and they lost that. Cal Ripken stepped up and said, you know what, I'm going to purchase the Devil Ray farm system here, and I want to bring in my Cal Ripken experience. Fought back on that. So what did he do? He moved a team to St. Petersburg. Now you have no baseball here. And don't support local baseball. That might get Major League Baseball impressed, right? So anyway, so moving forward, now we're talking about Major League Baseball again. Why now? Why not 10 years ago? Why now? Baseball right now is at the lowest point of popularity with kids. It's not fast enough. You know, we have 1,000 kids in the league, but there's more playing lacrosse and football. Why is Major League Baseball all of a sudden interested in Vero Beach again? It's not because of Dodger Town. Look at the pictures. You know, you want to create that nostalgia. You're protecting it. Why does it look the way it does, guys? You should be embarrassed. I'm embarrassed. I won't take my kids over there. I can't even run through there anymore. I used to jog through there and enjoy it. Vin Scully, Don Drysdale, Sandy Koufax, they don't walk through there anymore. They're embarrassed. And they should be. You should let these developers come in here and make something we can be proud of in this community for generations to come, Mr. O'Brien. You're a day late and a dollar short. If we don't learn from our past, like they always said, it will come back again and haunt you.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Phyllis Frye, residing at 275 Date Palm Road, City of Vero Beach. As we continue our discussion, I want to thank each and every one of you for your in-depth approach to this and your circumspect, very detailed questions, so important, and I really appreciate your time and effort. We need to acknowledge that the City of Vero Beach is not in dire financial straits. According to the Finance Committee, we're just fine. And we must bear in mind that due to negotiations between the city and FP&L, that will result in a windfall profit for the city, further strengthening our financial position. The city is under no financial pressure to sell this property. Please correct me if I'm mistaken. There's no justification for giving away this valuable land for a pittance so that a second party can profit handsomely with taxpayers continuing to pay off the debt, and the city loses a valuable, appreciable asset. These assets are not here for the exploitation, and we do not need intervention. We don't need it. This is the people's land and should remain in the hands of the city. We're quite capable of making our own deals with Major League Sports or anyone else. As a council, you should make a command decision, retain control, create a plan. There are three choices, but only one is correct. Succumb to developers who would buy the land for less than appraised value to improve their, not the city's, bottom line. We would lose the land and have no control over its commercial development, and while continuing to pay off the debt. Succumb to a county buyout. That's the second option. Commissioner OBrien stated it'll be kept as, quote, it'll be kept as green space, as open green space or recreational use and things like that would not be developed, end quote. Yet Commissioner Zork stated on public record that, quote, I am not in favor of using county tax dollars to buy land to keep it as a city park. 6 people said to me, it's great that the county would keep it as green space. I said that's not technically correct. What we have under land uses is lodging, restaurants, and commercial uses to support Dodgertown. It could be built out extensively, very similar to the other plan, end quote. Once again, the city would lose the land and still have taxpayers paying off the debt while expanding bigger government. The third choice, and the best choice, is for the city to retain ownership of this land and create a plan. The property will only increase in value. The city can negotiate its own position. We would decide its future. We can create a financial vision plan devised by the city and its residents that provides a sensible return on investment to pay off the debt while increasing its value for the greater good of the community. We can afford to wait. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Frye.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is Ralph Kawasaki. I reside outside the city in the county limits. I'll defer my address for my professional reasons.
That's fine.
My office is in the city proper at 1601 20th Street. First, and as other speakers have said, I just want to applaud you for the sophistication, for the degree of due diligence that you have obviously performed, as evident by the questions that you had for the speakers. I've sat in your position as mayor of a New Jersey township. I miss it, I envy you, and then sometimes not so much. So I've been there. And I think I said to myself somewhere about 15 years ago, I said, well, you know, I'm out of this. And then one of my favorite films, you know, just when you think you're out of it, they pull you back in, you know. So here I am. I use the city facilities. I came here from pickleball, the Heritage Center. So I probably use it as much as any other resident. I contribute to, you know, I try and support the stores, the retail operations, restaurants in town, and I'm happy to do it. And what I see here in this proposal is basically two parties. Yes, you have the third option of doing nothing, but I want to talk about what I see as David and Goliath. The county admitted right here in this testimony, they're not developers. So why are we talking to them? I've heard, I don't know if it was Mr. Palladini or Mr. O'Brien say, you could count on the county. They won't fail. I'll leave that up to all of you to digest. They'll live true to their words, and they'll build everything in a timely basis and just the way they said they would. Here you have a developer who said, we will put in that deed restriction. Same words for both sides. You guys develop it. You're the chief in this. You're the engineer. He also said that we're going to keep, and you'll hold them to it, what, 43% of the land green? I didn't hear the county say anything about any percentage of keeping it green. I heard previously something about, well, they may want to do a hotel too, they need the parking. You know, they also said they want to put in a sewage treatment plant. You guys know that?
No, we did not.
Sewage for reclamation? Right? Stormwater, that's sewage. Oh, excuse me, stormwater treatment plant. Okay? Well, that's easily, I may be wrong, but I'm only reciting what I've read. What we have here, let me just put down the differences as I see it. The county, you will not get any tax dollar for, right? Real estate. You mentioned, Councilwoman mentioned about the debt obligation is about $600 and some odd thousand a year. This developer's projected real estate tax, when it's developed, of course, is $300,000. So in effect, he helps you pay that down. We talk about something that wasn't mentioned here, but again, in material that I read before, and I see a lot of historic preservation people here, and I'm very fond of that organization. In my township, against advice of my contemporaries, we approved the first Historic Preservation Commission in Vernon Township. There's another part to it which I'll leave out, but it's well-deserved, and we must preserve our heritage. I hear the developer talking about that, memorializing some of the people from our own town, trying to make it compatible and consistent with the surrounding neighborhood, not only the airport, not only the Dodger town, but the communities. There's 5 houses that face that property, directly face it. A few others are set back. We have to consider all of them. We talk about Major League Baseball, and that's what they want us to hear. It's not Major League Baseball, it's Little League. Okay, Major League, as someone said, they're not coming down here, but they're going to have this promise of an oasis, and that this would be the shining star for their Little League program. They called it something else. Promises, promises, promises. I just don't understand. I mean, I looked at the what Dodgertown has proposed to as amendments to their lease going forward, and they talk about the county increasing its share to subsidize their improvements to $800,000. I'm wondering, what is it now?
Thank you, Mr. Kawasaki. I do appreciate the words. I honestly appreciate the words. We're going to have to stick to a strict timeline.
No problem. I thank you for taking the time to hear us.
Yes, sir.
In fairness to the county, the issue I think they were talking about with stormwater management was something like the shallow water marshes or something similar to that they've done in other parts of the county. So it would not be like a facility. It would be more like you run stormwater through like shallow water plants, and it absorbs a lot of the nitrogen and phosphorus out of the water, and then the water coming out has less nitrogen that ends up in the lagoon. So they were, I don't think they were talking about any structure or building related to that.
Well, the phosphorus has to go somewhere. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Real quick, as we're welcoming the next speaker here, just want to let you all know that we made our interest payment October 1st.
Oh, good.
And it is currently in budget to pay off the balance of the debt should the sale go through.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Good evening.
Afternoon.
My name is Donald Stewart. I live at 1481 30th Avenue in the city. And I'm here to express my desire for you to vote for the developer and against the county. In my experience, what I've seen, the government is not in a position to do things like develop, whether it's land or commercial, and I would rather see a firm that's got experience. I've seen private green space that's been developed, or green space that's been developed by private developers, and they've always done a beautiful job. When you have somebody that wants that's got a track record of being green, I believe that we'd be putting it in capable hands. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Mrs. Alma Lee Lloyd, everybody.
Good afternoon.
You're very loved.
Mayor Howell and members of our city council. I am Alma Lee Lloyd, a native of Vero Beach. I'll be glad to give you my address. I've been living there since 1942.
I'll take your word for it.
This afternoon, I'm a little discombobulated with all the things that have been said and the ideas, and some of them are not exactly true, but the last time I visited with you all, you granted us a 30-day moratorium to enable further preparation for the highest and best uses for the Dodgetown property. Indeed, I have a passion for this special city. We are different on purpose. Our early pioneers made it that way, thus creating a way of life for all to enjoy. No price tag on the air we breathe. No price tag on the green space we enjoy. Maintaining Vero Beach's unique and enviable quality of life must be a priority. Early settlers used foresight and courage to build what we enjoy today. Polarization has developed between the old-time natives who understand the importance of our history and a group who do not care about where we head as a community. There must be a middle ground with discussion to reach a common basis for credibility and stature in our special city. Thus, a plan for honorable relations between city and county. We need each other. We do not need additional buildings and traffic generators on the proposed Dodgetown property. If my memory serves me, it was Councilman Sykes who proposed further negotiations with developers could be stopped at any time. Now is the time. There are many here this afternoon to let you know that they endorse the Indian River County plans for future compatible uses of Dodgetown. Yes, we are passionate. We treasure green space and fresh air. We want to be prepared for Major League Baseball. As I stand here at this moment, I want to turn to this audience and ask them if you support the county's plans for Dodgetown. Would you please stand? Thank you very much. Thank you very much to the members of our city council. You have the opportunity to show that you truly care. You have listened to your constituents. You've understood their request to save and enhance an historical place for generations to come. What a true legacy for each of you. Thank you for your kind attention. Your yes vote will be written in the history of Vero Beach because it is the right move to make. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Thank you, Mrs. Roy.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Arthur Economy, 3598 Indian River Drive East. Vero Beach City Council. You were elected to preserve and protect our quality of life and represent the interests of your constituents. Some of you have failed to do this. Your time-wasting ambition to vote away River House, Dodger Town Golf Course, and the city marina appeared to show a personal agenda, not a focus on city matters and governing. You have distracted and deconstructed council so proper and timely management of urgent issues are not addressed. A comprehensive plan that reflects the wants of the voters, the parking problem on Ocean Avenue, traffic safety. You appear genuinely concerned about the parking problem on Ocean Drive and have stated, we should wait until our winter population is back for public opinion. Why didn't you wait for their return before selling our city? Leasing River House and adding to the traffic and parking problems. Was that your strategy? The parking situation on Ocean Drive has you apparently listening, but you publicly state committees are a waste of time. Collectively, we will not be told to be dispassionate about our property and your agenda to sell it. We do not care that previous council paid more than you think they should have for Dodgertown, or what the tax revenues could be with your developers, and any other reasons that support your selling agenda. The council that bought Dodgertown did so with city preservation and green space in mind. They succeeded. You fail if you sell this property. You fail the people who elected you. Sow Dodgertown against the outcry of the city. Continue to look into selling the marina, or attempt to lease or sell any other city properties based on your agenda, then you jeopardize the right to sit in that chair. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, council members and Mayor. Michael Bagby is my name, 450 39th Court, Vero Beach. I first came to Vero Beach in 1970, and I watched from my Aunt Polly's and Uncle Cliff's kitchen the grader that was going by their house on the corner of 25th Avenue and Route 60 that was actually widening the road from 2 lanes to 4 lanes. That was 1970. And I have really appreciated how the City Council has guided the growth here in our city. In fact, just a couple days ago, a friend of mine from Hawaii, we were walking down Ocean Drive, and I said, "You see those tall buildings there? Do you notice there's no more tall buildings like that in town?" And he said, "Why is that?" And I explained, because of the vision of the City Council in protecting the special nature of this city that I've witnessed since 1970. I moved here in 1991, purchased property. I opened my first business in 2011. I have a second business downtown now. We opened this past year. We run a business at the airport. I owned an airplane and flew it out of Vero Beach to our school project in Honduras for 10 years. I've made many approaches to Runway 4. I understand the dynamics of aviation, community, and especially the impact in this particular area of our city. And I'm here to tell you that we're at a place where we have to take the vision of the city council as expressed especially by Alma Lee, and combine it with what we consider to be profitable growth, not just for our economy, but just for the people to really enjoy this special place. I've known the developers since Terry moved to town in 2006. I was introduced to his brother, Mark, and I realized a few years later it wasn't his blood brother, but Mark grew up in Terry's home. His mom and dad took Mark in when you were 12, I think, right? So these aren't just two business associates, these are brothers. And Terry, as a sports car champion, I mean, I watched him win the 2010 Daytona 24-hour race, and I know Terry brings a lot of wisdom and a lot of class into our city. And I've looked at the plans of this development, and as a business owner, and especially my business is right down the street, I drive past this property every day. I think this is an incredible opportunity to combine the use of green space. I mean, I played many rounds of golf on that golf course. I was really bummed when it closed down. But to see the use now to bring the community together, to have restaurants and businesses and so much parks and green space, and I especially love the Vero Beach Heroes part of this plan. There's so many people in our town that have contributed in so many ways that need to be recognized. And I'd love to see that happen. I am totally in favor of this project as a business owner, as a longtime resident, as a person who has, since my teenage years, has watched this city grow. And I would highly recommend that you don't look at what I have heard today to be nebulous clouds of promise somewhere in the future, and take a piece of property that the only use that I've seen in the last couple of years is storm debris from the last hurricane. Let's make it something that will draw our community together, will generate tax revenue, which will provide jobs. I mean, my 4 children are growing up here, and they need jobs. They need a place to do business. And this is one more opportunity for us to in a very planned out manner, protecting all the values that we Vero Beach people have held on to all these years, to continue to hold on to those values and let the development proceed along those lines. I think these two men, they're men of integrity. These are people that are givers. I know these men. They're givers. They're not people that take, and they're not here to enrich themselves. They're here to do a project that will benefit our community. And obviously it's going to benefit them. There's going to be a lot of hard work here. There's going to be a lot of finances given. There's risk involved in this. But these guys are willing to take it on. And I think, in my mind, knowing them, they're the perfect 2 people to actually do this. And so far I've paid over $65,000 in my county taxes. I don't want to see my money spent on buying this property again. I want to see it put to some better use. And I would really encourage you guys to allow this development to go through, and I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you so much. Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon.
Hi, good evening. My name is Karen Pittman. I live at 775 2nd Street in Vero Beach. I'm here in support of Terry Borcheller and his partner Mark Hulbert purchasing the 35-acre property located west of Dodgertown with plans to develop an urban market, which is unprecedented for this area, and at the same time preserving the rich history of the location. Terry Borcheller and his wife Tracy have been very close friends of mine for many years. Our children have grown up together, and they still have strong relationships as well. Over the years, I've known Terry to be a man of integrity in all that he does. He leads an exemplary life as a devoted husband and father of 4 children. He has been a resident of the Vero Beach community for many years. Terry loves Vero Beach and has demonstrated such by his long-term commitment to local churches. He has also served on the board of Life of Youth Ranch for the last 10 years. He is integrally involved in a local men's group that meets regularly here in Vero Beach as well. Anyone who knows Terry Borcheller can attest to these statements as factual. His plan to invest in the community of Vero Beach by developing the land at Dodgertown is compelled by and consistent with what he has already proven. His motivation is to better the community through economic growth for the city and county, increase property values for the residents in the surrounding areas, and to provide a place where families of Vero Beach and Indian River County can enjoy time together, engaging in many activities that will be available to them as a result of this development. This will eliminate the need for many families to travel an hour or more, taking their spending money with them in order to have the same type of experience. This money would otherwise be reinvested in our community. Terry Borcheller is one of the hardest working men I know. If he and his partner Mark are given the opportunity to purchase this property, I believe they will follow through with the plan exactly as it is proposed, and the results will be something every resident of Vero Beach will not only benefit from, but be very proud of. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. Brooke Malone, 606 15th Avenue, Vero Beach, Florida. Sorry for dressing up for the occasion, and I also have a little problem going on with my voice. I wonder if that's because I'm not supposed to speak today. I'm a business owner in the city of Vero Beach. I was lucky enough to not have to go through any of this when we took our historic building from the city and dumped $400,000 of our own personal money to retrofit a building that was slated potentially for being demolished. I am eternally grateful that we did not have a bunch of hoops to jump through, that we came with a business plan that was approved and opened Walking Tree Brewery. I'm also here as a recreation commissioner for the city of Vero Beach. My job is to provide play spaces in our city for our youth, and personally for myself and adults as well. A green space, as defined by Webster's, is an area of grass, trees, and other vegetation set apart for recreation and aesthetic purposes. Plans for an unpaved parking lot with or without a 12-foot pedestrian path or service road, which, if you look at the plans that are included in your packet, show is not a green space. That is not a green space. According to the county's definition of a green space, unpaved parking, that is what we currently are in possession of. And if we're going to treasure it, which I appreciate everyone who is in support and wanting to save this piece of property, if you treasure it so much, I'd like to know how many of you have walked it recently. Because if you have, you're trespassing. It is covered with no trespassing signs. I trespass on it regularly with my dog. I'm rogue. On the 26th of this month, there was a meeting in the number 2 executive office of Building A, and there are plans sitting on the table, full color. Those are not what we have here in our packet. I am not making an accusation that there are other plans going on. I wonder if they are conceptual plan number 3, but they show parking on the northwest and the northeast corner as well. It appears, according to those, that parking for an unknown entity that we may or may not have a business relationship with are well underway being made. And that is not how you run a business. There is no business plan here, and you are not spending your money. Neither of you. You have already spent our monies, sir. And the fact that you would ask us to buy something again is mind-boggling. GuideStar.org is a listing of all nonprofits, charitable organizations, and foundations, and simply entering the word baseball brings up 11,719 just in the continental United States alone baseball organizations that I am sure are tripping over themselves to find places to bring people to play. I would not discredit anyone here. Everyone here is super passionate about what they believe in. But the fact that we would consider paying for this again would be like me trying to ask you to buy your beer from me twice. And you are welcome to come to my establishment and do that anytime you want. But that's not how I run my business. And I don't expect you guys to play with our money. It is an asset that I have the right to walk on. I pay taxes to the city, I pay taxes to the county, and if you arrest me for trespassing on it, I will pitch a fit. I will not sue you if I fall in a hole. I have not sued you for the mud that I've gone knee-deep in. It is a play space, poorly taken care of, just like all of the other play spaces in this city, and that is not your fault. A windfall, extra money, there's not that much. There's not enough to make things better. We're failing miserably, county and city. We're behind. And yes, I respect our older generations, but we have a younger generation that want to do neat things. And we are Vero too. Keep Vero Vero. I am Vero. My children are Vero. Sirs, madam, that is the only thing I ask. Please do not ask the taxpayer to pay for this again. And please stop trying to do business, do government. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Malone.
Talk about a tough act to follow. Hi, my name is Roberta Miller. Most people call me Bobby. I live at 1695 Lee Avenue in Vero Beach, but I'm in the county, not in the city. But I bleed Vero red. I love Vero Beach. It's my heart. It's my home. I've been here since 1987 and have been an active community member, participating in park and recreation. For over 10 years, my mother and I did all the costuming for junior entertainers, PA, performing arts troupe, Adagio teams. Anywhere they needed help, Bobby Miller was there. So I love this town, and I love our parks. I love what we have. But when I hear our own city manager say that we have plenty of parks in Vero Beach and we don't need another one, I have to say Dodgertown Golf Course doesn't qualify. It's far from a park. It's an open green space, and yes, I would like to cherish that. But all the years I've driven by there since it was purchased, it still is just an open space. It has not been taken care of. It hasn't been improved. It's a place where you cannot go walk your dog. You can't walk with your children. 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago, I came before the City Council with a proposal to create the largest classroom in Indian River County on the Dodgertown Golf Course. This would have included both high schools at that time, or all three now, and certainly it would have included the college, and we would have turned it into a golf course management program for high school students, college students, and the golf course would have been operated by these students for college credit, high school credit, and we would have used internships and other means of financing to run the organization. Everything was in place. The City Council was given everything. Mayor Tom White was so excited about it. Nothing happened. The city manager at that time didn't seem to be interested, so it derailed. He came to me and expected me to write grants to run this. I had just sat with Ruth Shaw and written a $200,000 grant for the Business Academy at Vero Beach High School. He expected me to do that. I asked for a year pay. I'll write your grants. I'll help you get this off the ground. Think of all the time we would have had a 9-hole golf course that people could have played with students learning a craft, skills and opportunities for students all over the country from Vero Beach. Never happened. So time has passed. The course looks terrible. I'm sorry to hear about Dodgertown. I did a lot of training for Craig Callan. I do a lot of consulting work on the side. So I'm really sad to hear about this because it was a potentially great opportunity. Now we're looking at a space, and I'm one of those older people now, and I've been here long enough that I treasure what Vero Beach has been. But I also see what we need. I came here today because I was gung-ho to keep it green. I wanted it to stay green. I wanted to see the county buy this. I wanted to see it just get improved, like the county can do what they have done to other properties. They have done many good things. But then I heard the other side of the coin. And I hear about revenue coming in, and I hear about job opportunities. I'm on the Career Tech Steering Committee for the school district, and we've just opened up a VOTEC where the alternative school used to be in Gifford. Our kids do need jobs. Our people in the community need places to go. And I'm concerned because whenever I want to go to someplace, go to an art fair, want to go to the market, where is it? I have to go over the bridge. Now, I've lived on the beach, and I've lived on the mainland. There's one thing that I found that we really do need here, is we need a midtown venue. We need a place where people who live centrally located can come from all over Indian River County and Vero Beach and enjoy restaurants, entertainment, food, have fun with their kids. That we could have walking trails surrounding this with great fitness stations, something that was also proposed years ago. We can have it all. 44% green space, if it's appropriate green space, and I'm a little nervous when I just heard what I just heard, but if I can see that it's truly going to be green, that it truly can happen and bring jobs and bring opportunities for families to enjoy Vero Beach together, then maybe this person is switching. I know I live in the county, but I worked in Vero Beach, I live in Vero Beach, I shop in Vero Beach, so I am Vero Beach. And my family grew up here, my daughter and her family are here. We want this to continue to be a great town. So please consider all the options. But let's think about what is the best way to get a venue. And if you want to keep it green, if you want to keep that little piece of land, Dodgertown Golf Course, how about improving it to make it something that we really can use and not just drive by and say, man, I wonder what that could have been. Give us a reason to not develop it by a developer. Give us a reason that we can use it, because right now, nobody's using it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good afternoon or evening. My name is Ruth Ambridge. I live at 4835 66th Avenue, which is in the county, but this is my hometown. It has been my hometown for 75 years, and I think that we need to appreciate the fact that we have a lot of our residents that this is their hometown. I am also the county historian, which means I also know the history of Vero Beach. In 2001, like Commissioner OBrien, I was a commissioner at that time, and I'm very proud to say that I had the opportunity to save Dodgertown the first time around. And that was to be heavens know what now if we had not purchased it at the time. The county could not afford all of it, but we voted to buy a major portion of Dodgertown and all of Holman Stadium. Several years later, the city voted to buy the rest of the original site, the 35-acre parcel. Since that time, the citizens in the city and in the county have waited. They have waited, not so patiently, for a plan, a workshop, a master plan that would live up to the vision that all of us had. And you've heard a lot of those visions today: green space, open space, recreation, something for everyone. And there have been many opportunities to do just that. The city and the county needing to work together. Unfortunately, that has not happened. In the last 2 months, the public has called again upon the city leaders to pursue that course. That has not happened. Your decision today, if it's the wrong one, will once again split up this special place. No longer will the public have control over the assets they bought, both the city and the county. Is that the legacy you as city leaders want to leave? You have a choice. Are you going to be the city council that divides historic Dodgertown one more time and probably forever? Are you going to be the city council that is on the right side of history? We've got generations to come. We have an opportunity to honor the legacy of the Ritchie and the O'Malley families. We have the honor to honor baseball and all of the sports that have contributed to the equality of the races and the genders. And we have an opportunity to honor the citizens and taxpayers over the last 2 decades that have recognized the true importance and the historical significance of Dodgertown. The concept of Vero Heroes is fine, but the history of those parcels being together is the true legacy that we need to leave, and this council has that opportunity. The conceptual plan framework, and I hope all of you have seen that, prepared by the county, would consider the entire parcel, the 35 acres, the 75 that the county owns, as one big parcel. All those acres will be considered in a master plan, and a plan that we've called for many, many times. Everyone will have input, and it can become a reality on the eve of the city's centennial. As leaders, you need to think about what the next 100 years of Vero Beach will be. What will you leave? You need to think about what your grandfather or your grandmother would want you to do. You need to think about your children, your grandchildren, and future generations. This is the history you leave to them. Let it be on the right side of history. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Stanford. For anyone who might be looking for a seat, there's 3 up front. Count 1 over here to my right, and I think 2 over here to my left.
Hi, my name's Peter Robinson. I live at 315 Great Twig Road in Vero Beach, Florida. I'm a land developer and a builder. But I have one question. Have you guys approved the plan that the developer has put forward? Has it gone through all the hearings and everything that's required?
It hasn't been approved yet.
Okay.
It hasn't been sold.
Well, it hadn't been sold, but I've worked with a lot of developers, and sometimes as a developer you got to watch out that you don't walk yourself into a bad situation. Because one thing that happens is you guys aren't going to be here that much longer. I remember when I first came to Vero Beach, I went...
What is that? What now?
Well, what are you talking about? That's what happens. That's what happens, let me tell you. I remember when I first came, we went
some escorts in the parking lot later on tonight, please.
We went and met with all the officials, and we wanted to put a development out on Route 60. But surprise, surprise, Ralph Sexton showed up later after everybody said, oh yeah, that's a great idea. And he said, that's prime citrus. And we used to have along Route 60 a nice little prime citrus area, so you couldn't develop it. And all I'm saying is, I also worked with a guy named Mr. DeBartolo, the old man. And the old man never bought anything until he got all the approvals. And you guys may remember out here at the mall, when he was first putting that together, I can remember one of the great comments of one of the officials was, well, if they paid that much money to Joe Montana, they can damn well pay that much money to us. Never figured out that they didn't put any asses in the seats, you know, but they were trying to get every penny they could, and he walked away, if you remember. Then when we got to 18% unemployment, they finally decided maybe we could have a few jobs. But what I'm saying as a developer is you need to get the development program up here, and you got to listen to everybody who's going to have their say, because they're all going to come in once you get the development program and find out if this thing's even going to work. Because the other problem you got, remember the concrete plant? Y'all remember the concrete plant up in Sebastian? Well, that guy went in and he talked to some people, and he was led down the Mary Lane, and he went and bought the damn property. And then, after he bought the damn property and couldn't put his concrete plant in because the whole world went crazy, he sued the county. Well, you guys won't be here anymore. I know you move on, but there'll be somebody trying to sit in your seats, and they'll be getting sued because they'll say, well, you told us we could do these things. and you may not be able to. That road that you're worried about, Aviation Boulevard and all that things, that was built because that's what was one of the requirements to put the mall in. They had to build that road. They also wanted the entrance to Vero Beach Highlands built. That one didn't get built. But I mean, this is the type of stuff that has to be negotiated. And if you're a developer, you don't come and buy a piece of property and then get kicked around. You find out if you can do it. So all I'm saying is, you guys are way premature here. The first thing you need to do is get the plan on the table and see if you can even get it approved by you, but you'll be gone. There'll be somebody else taking your place by the next group, because as we all know, we've all heard it on the news, elections have consequences. So there might be a whole nother group here making the decision, and these poor guys are going to be stuck with who got elected. So that's all I'm saying. You're way early. You shouldn't sign the damn contracts. You should keep working to get something that works for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dori Stone. I'm president of the Indian River County Chamber of Commerce, 1216 21st Street, Vero Beach. And I'm here tonight to let you know that my board took an action on September 17th. And I wasn't sure if you received a copy of the letter that I sent to Mr. O'Connor in September 18th. But the board chose to unanimously support the deal between the city and the county. The reason for that was the transparency of a master plan between these two entities and the desire to see future economic and tourism growth in this corridor and how we see fit between you two working together. The board also supports the idea of allowing this to take its run with regard to looking at MLB, recognizing the need for the green space as well as future economic activity. And with that, that's all I have, and I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Stone.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm Danny Deliah. I live at 6615 52nd Avenue. I also have commercial businesses in the city limits and in the county, and I own the property also. I've lived here since '78. I've been coming here since '65 for my family's 2 weeks vacation because my dad trained with the Dodgers here in Vero Beach. That's how we found it. I'm in favor of the county buying the property and creating a master long-term plan for a government-private partnership to develop this property as a place for all different types of grade schools and college sports tournaments to be played at all the venues throughout the county's different recreational properties, with the championship game to be played at Dodgertown. And if you're a kid, that would be an awesome thing to do. We also don't need to introduce residential units to this property, and I also feel that one government entity needs to own this property. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I'm Jay Miller, and I live in Grove Isle, and I've been here since 1949, and I've seen the council make many decisions and things over the years. And I think this council should think of the future, keep the property, and for the younger generation, I won't be here, but you'll have other things come up that you can make a good decision on. Keep the property now, because I've heard both sides of the story. Both sides are good, but you're the ones that make the decision, and I've seen that over the years. Dodgertown, I came in '49. I've seen that grow and so forth. Piper, I've seen that grow, and in the future, you may have somebody come in here from either space wanting to buy the property, and so you're the ones that make the decision for the future generations. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening.
I was going to ask that fellow if I could borrow his cane to get up here. My name's Cliff Norris. I live at 1408 Club Drive. Mayor Howell and the councilman, I haven't heard many people make a case for the county, and I'm here to do that. Aside from what's on the Dodgertown property, at the moment, it may not be there in the long run. But you're dealing with the people that own it. And I think your best bet is to sell the old golf course property of the county, and here's why. To think, and all due respect to you gentlemen, the developers, to think that you can build a hotel on the property that's right in the way of a flight path for one of the major runways at the airport, that's bounded on the south side by a drainage canal, on the north side by the airport, and on the west side by 43rd Avenue, and have a robust hotel only on that parcel is a bit of a wonderment for me personally. However, next door sits a very powerful owner with the ability to direct that parcel, expanded by the golf course, into some very interesting uses in the future, including the possibility of an expanded Dodgertown facility with perhaps Major League Baseball. However, let's imagine if the Dodgertown facility is being operated at the moment. And by the way, a number of us were surprised by the comments earlier by the gentleman who said it's in bad shape. Let's presume that it doesn't work out and it eventually is gone. Now you have a very powerful owner who can seek new uses of that property, including but not limited to, and let your mind go the gamut of what could be used. A new corporate national headquarters for a corporation, a scientific facility, a new tech facility on that property, expanded with the property is now the old golf course. If you don't, I think it's in your best interest to sell that property to the county. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time. Good evening.
Hi. I'm Fred Augenstein. I live 179 Caprona Street in Sebastian, but as I expressed before, I have done quite a bit of business in the City of Vero Beach and also at historic Dodgertown. I was actually taken by Val Zudans in your guest editorial in the Press Journal. You asked everyone to take a dispassionate look about the Dodgertown decision, the golf course property. And I've come up with another way to look at that decision on a dispassionate basis. From the sheer dollars and cents of what Peter O'Malley and his family have contributed to the City of Vero Beach, and what a custom home developer from Lakeland has contributed to the city. For lack of a better term, let's just call it dispassionately an entry fee for these playoffs. Let's consider the custom home builder from Lakeland first. They have contributed an idea to build custom homes and businesses initially, then changed that idea at the request of the Vero Beach City Council to an urban center concept that would include hotel, retail shops, and office space. They have spent some small sum of money for this initial design, and the second version with custom homes eliminated. That is the extent of their investment in the City of Vero Beach to date. Now let's consider Peter O'Malley and his family's investment into the City of Vero Beach. In 1948, Walter O'Malley, Peter's father, was a part of a group of baseball executives from Brooklyn who chose Vero Beach to be their spring training home at the behest of local Vero Beach businessman Bud Holman, with a wide variety of local people in the City of Vero Beach supporting that decision over the years. There were around 3,600 residents in Vero then, and they brought 600 players to that first spring. The City of Vero Beach became synonymous with the Brooklyn Dodgers and later the Los Angeles Dodgers over time as their spring training home. My estimation on the economic impact of this one element of what was known as Dodgertown to the City of Vero Beach would be underestimated at $24 million from 1948 to 2008 as a direct result of the O'Malley's family decision to bring the Dodgers here. I will not discount any of that impact when Peter O'Malley made the decision to sell the team prior to them leaving for Arizona in 2008, as they were still here providing that impact right up until they left. Then once minor league baseball took over, and after the McCourts moved the Dodgers to Arizona, Peter O'Malley stayed in touch with Pat O'Connor, the president of minor league baseball, to make sure how they were doing as Vero Beach Sports Village. When Pat explained in 2012 that it looked like MIOB would be exiting, Peter stepped back in with a plan to take the reins again, and now 6 years later, we faced a new decision today. Upon his return, Peter was able to get approval to utilize the historic Dodgertown name through his contacts with Major League Baseball after the McCourts exited the ownership role of the Dodgers. It was not an easy task, but it has been a real asset to this property as it could now be known as historic Dodgertown, highlighting what it was now and is again for the city of Vero Beach when it was in its heyday. The value of the historic Dodgertown name, $1 million. That was what the McCourts asked MILB to pay if they wanted to utilize the name in 2009. The economic impact of the Brooklyn Dodger and Los Angeles Dodger spring training years of 1948 to 2008, low estimation of this to the value for regular retail businesses, restaurants, hotels for this 61 period of time. They didn't really do economic research then about that. I put it $120 million. The economic impact of Vero Beach Sports Village and then historic Dodgertown on a year-round basis from 2009 to 2018, low estimation of the 10-year period, $100 million. The payments directly to the city of Vero Beach for electricity over the 61-year period of time from 1948 to 2008 would be estimated at $15.4 million. The payments directly to the city of Vero Beach for electricity over the 10-year period of time from 2009 to 2018 would be estimated at $3.1 million. And they still, to this day, pay between $25,000 and $35,000 per month every month for their electricity. Dodgertown employees living in the city of Vero Beach estimated value would be a contribution of $10 million over 71 years. Vero Beach residents who play sports on the property now and since 2009 and before, priceless. High schools played at the home and earlier. The economic impact of people moving to the city of Vero Beach as a result of the Dodgers being here, including players, coaches, umpires, fans, Brooklyn, Los Angeles, and throughout the U.S. and their families being raised here, estimated at $20 million. Therefore, the total entry fee of real dollars and estimated economic impact dollars directly benefiting the city of Vero Beach for Peter O'Malley and his family to enter into this playoff today is underestimated at $243.5 million. Now you could say, well, that is all well and good, but that is the past you are dispassionately looking at, and we are now focused on the future. Okay, let's take that same dispassionate look at the future. If you sell this property to the developer, it could possibly reap your rewards for the city of Vero Beach if it is successful. But if May 1st, 2019 comes and there is no deal with Major League Baseball, the most likely scenario was spelled out clearly by Peter O'Malley in the September 13th article in Vero Beach 32963, where it was made clear that this is the only succession plan on track for Mr. O'Malley's plans to end this lease.
Thank you, Mr. Augustine. Your time is up.
You won't let me finish?
You have 5 minutes to speak. We need to be very conscious about other people's time tonight as well. We still have a long meeting ahead.
Well, the bottom line is, I was trying to get to the point where I'm just talking about the fact that Mr. O'Malley also deserves some respect for what he's done for this city. He deserves more than a situation.
Thank you, sir.
I just make one comment. Just for the public information, I do not get to pick the title for my article, so I submit an article. I did not submit any, dispassionate. And at the conclusion of my article, I suggested that one of the other solutions was for Major League Baseball. It was actually the best of all solutions was for Major League Baseball themselves to buy the property from the city, but that offer never came forward. So just to clarify those two things. I never even used the word dispassionately in my entire guest column. That was the Press Journal's choice.
Thank you, sir.
Hello.
Good evening.
James Carr, 1826 21st Avenue, City of Vero Beach. Just a few thoughts that have crossed my mind as sitting here listening to all this. One thing's for sure is that we're only going to end up with more people, but there's not going to be any more land unless there's some geological upheaval. And if all the glaciers and ice caps melt, there's going to be less land because the sea level will rise. I would say hang on to the land you got. If you really want to make some money off of it, lease it out. You can give a long-term lease, and then it'll still be yours for some future council to deal with later on. Give them a long-term lease. And then when we really need some public space, it'll be there. But don't give it up. We need this land. And like I said, there's not going to be any more of it. And if you give it away, it's only going to get pricier to get it back. You know, if you want smaller government, don't take it out of your intelligence.
Thank you, Mr. Carr.
Howdy, my name is Paige Van Antwerp, 6245 81st Street, Vero Beach. It's in the county.
Paige, would you repeat that last name, please?
Van Antwerp.
Thank you.
Sure thing. I was born and raised here. In fact, the Dodgers bought the property I grew up on. I also worked in baseball, so I can speak a little bit to both of them. To speak to the gentleman who said Major League Baseball, we got teased by the Orioles before, this is a different situation. This is the overall organization of Major League Baseball. In fact, if you do a little research about what their imperatives are now, it is for international and youth recruiting. Baseball is at an all-time low as far as its popularity. No, not an all-time low, but it is dipping. And their response to that is to try to bring in more youth, more international players. Vero is always been enticing to them for those reasons. I was involved with people who were involved with the international, and that's why it was interesting to Peter O'Malley. I've also, as a longtime resident, seen developers come and make wonderful promises, and what these people are talking about does sound wonderful. Although I did hear a couple of things in their presentation to be concerned about. A, the disparity in the parking. If they had spoken in actuality to Major League Baseball, which they said they had and they haven't, talking to Chris Stapleton doesn't count. They would know what the parking requirements are for Major League Baseball. That shows a lack of preparation to me that's very concerning. So these are the sort of issues I think they tried to brush over, and we need answers to before anything happens. To speak to the new generations who want to do cool things, Ms. Brooke has my 100% for the cool things she's doing. But this is the wrong place to enforce it. It is unfortunate that we're going to have to pay twice, but I wonder where the cool ideas were and where the acceptance of them was from the council when this sat here for 3 years. It's not the county's fault it sat here for 3 years, or however long it was. I'm sorry if I got the year wrong. So we need to separate those issues when we make this decision. I support the county, or even if the city wants to wait and work towards these ends, but the county's relationship with Major League Baseball and the progress that they've made should not be discounted. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Hi, Vicki Gould, 1901 23rd Avenue. I feel like lately my job is reading the second half of somebody's speech, and that's what I'm going to do today for Fred Augenstein. And I understand the time limit, so I said that before. Directly from this story, O'Malley warned that if he and the county can't strike a deal with MLB to run the place, the future of historic Dodgertown could be in jeopardy, along with all the tourism and sales tax revenues the facility's operations generate, because he doesn't know what will happen after he is gone. One thing is for sure, the historic Dodgertown name would be forever gone. Peter O'Malley is the only reason why it was granted use by MLB. And if historic Dodgertown's operations cease to exist, no matter how well the developer builds the proposed hotel, office buildings, and restaurants for this property, their chances for success, along with a variety of other hotels, restaurants, and businesses that already exist in the area, are greatly diminished. And here's the bottom line. Then the developer said they are willing to accommodate all of the parking needs that historic Dodgertown might have. Since they have never even spoken to anyone at the facility, they could not know that parking is not the only real issue. I have spoken to current and former operators of this facility, so I know this as fact. The Major League Baseball is a $13 billion enterprise. When they look at a market like this, they need to be assured of the possibility that they have the opportunity to expand their base of operations on site. New Orleans is the only city in the U.S. where Major League Baseball currently has an urban youth baseball academy operation that is not located in a city that has a current Major League team. Vero Beach would be only the second such city. And the main reason they are looking at taking over the reins in this situation is because Peter O'Malley has been negotiating with them, along with the county, to do so. Peter's quote, "I'm 80 years old and I need a plan for succession." That's why I've been talking to Major League Baseball, which is looking for a facility it can call its own to host some of its flagship events. This is a way for Major League Baseball to get that facility, one that also has so much history and tradition, he added. And I believe that would be the best next chapter for Dodgertown. So, if you choose the developer for this land purchase, you will be taking more of a risk than just hoping that he is successful. You will be rolling the dice. That most likely, this would end the opportunity with Major League Baseball, and there's a very real possibility that historic Dodgertown closes on May 1st, 2019, never to open again. Then the hotel, restaurants, and office space you have envisioned for the future of this 35-acre property will have much greater hurdles to climb to become successful, and the year-round tourism and economic impact dollars generated by historic Dodgertown for the City of Vero Beach would also be gone. So it is now your turn at the plate. We have 2 runners in scoring position, down 1 run, in the bottom of the 9th, and all we need is a single to be victorious in this playoff game. Please make the decision to win with Indian River County and Major League Baseball. That way your legacy and ours will then be ensured. And again, not my words, Mr. Augenstein.
Thank you, Mr. Wood.
Thank you, Vicki, for finishing his remarks. This member of the public appreciates the heck out of it. Brian Hetty, Vero Beach, Florida, and I am a county resident. I listened to lots of the stuff, and interesting, the deed restrictions. Peter O'Brien pointed out the city can remove them anytime they want. In fact, the deed restrictions that were placed on the property by the FAA when the whole thing was deeded over to the city, those have been violated so many times, it's incredible. Peter O'Brien says MLB would like to build some dorms, and Vicki just pointed out that they're a $13 billion a year entity. I think that they don't need taxpayer dollars. If they want to build dorms, there's lots of property and out there too. There's lots of property right by the airport. They question a hotel, and oh, well, that's residential, and we've banned residential. I guess my question then is, if you used a hotel room for only a couple of hours, does it change in use from recreational? It's not residential anymore, it's recreational. The debt is $660,000 a year, but that's also collateral security. If you sell the property, isn't there a lump sum due at the closing? And then we have the developers. Now, people will tell you that the developers, those are those nasty people that come in and destroy our community. I don't have such a view of developers. Of course, that probably has to do with, I was a developer and developed some property. The developer says 44% green. I don't disagree with that. That's a good. They said $300,000 in tax revenue. That's a good, thank you. $250 jobs, all right. And then the developer says, why would we ask the taxpayers to buy it again with the taxpayer money? You know, I'll tell you, I can't find anything that the developer said that was wrong. And they did point out that if you sell it to the county, hell, they can't even take care of Dodgertown now. It's in disrepair. So I have a hard time disagreeing with much of anything that the developer said. And I'm not an advocate for selling the property, but you know what? I think I trust those developers more than I trust the county, because I've seen what the county's done. Remember the property and the money we spent out on Osler Road, and you know, that didn't work, did it? And then the county put a big chunk of land out on Route 60, and then they were going to develop that into an industrial site, and the only thing they managed to put out there that I know of anyway is a distribution center for a multi-billion-dollar pharmacy outfit. And when they did that, they exceeded all height restrictions, and the poor people that lived near there fought like crazy to try to stop it. They weren't successful, so the county can do what they please, but they haven't been very successful on the property on Oslo Road. They weren't very successful on Route 60. They aren't very successful on Dodgertown, and they talk about what MLB wants, what Major League Baseball wants, and it's a $13 billion organization. Hell, if Major League Baseball wants something, how many acres are over right across the street? The old country club, what's it, a couple hundred acres? 300 acres right across the street. You know? Do something with that property, not taxpayer-owned property. And then I heard that, it's interesting, the comments from the city council. And one council member said that a former council declared this place surplus. They're a great council. They were right on, it's surplus. One council bought it for $10 million. That council was awful. And then another council wants to sell it for $2 million. A property that we bought for $10 million, they want to sell for $2 million, and council members say, that's wonderful. What a great deal. What a great deal. You know, and if the county really wanted to buy this property, they already steal from us all of the tax revenue, the bed tax. Tell you what, take over the payments, county. We'll leave the ownership right where it is. It's owned by the public. Leave the ownership right where it is, and take the tax money that's generated in our city, and you take over the payments. And then the property kind of stays just like it is, you know. If the county wanted to do something, go ahead, you want to develop it. But you know what? I tell you, I don't want the county building dorms on that property. And there's the beeper, the ridiculous beeper that stops the public from speaking.
Thank you, Mr. Heddy.
Good afternoon. My name is Joanne Hall, and I live at 1869 Great Falcon Circle Southwest in Vero Beach here. I think I have been before this board before, a different matter, but I had begged you at that time to please be forewarned, because I came from Hollywood, Florida, and I have been coming to Vero Beach since 1965 as a child, as a surfer back then. But anyway, I'm begging you, please, you know, just, I would personally sell it to the county, keep it in our blood, so to say, that, you know, that if you go, I see an excessive amount of building already happening right now, and I would hate to see Dodgertown change as far as that golf course. I've been personally in contact with a former Dodger League baseball player, and he's aware of the situation that you guys are in the middle of. And I think you guys, I would work with the county. I think Mr. O'Brien had, O'Brien had stated that he was willing to work with you guys. I mean, have you considered that, you know, before just turning it over to a builder? And I haven't heard the name DeBartolo in a long time, you know. I'm from down south, so I know I'm familiar with that builder. But I would think twice before you're doing. I would go with the county before I would go with a home builder. Please, green space, keep it.
Thank you, Ms. Hall.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Cindy Schwartz, and I am in Vero Beach, Florida, 2030 Del Mar, and I am also on the Tree and Beautification Commission. So that's kind of an entrance to that. I'm going to say it should stay as green space. I've listened to all the stories. I think there's some good ideas out there. I don't think that the idea is there, though. I agree with you, Councilwoman Laura Moss, that there's a third entity. We just don't know what that is yet. And to just give the property away, you're not going to get it back as green space. It's just not going to happen, and we all know that. My family's lived here since 1976. I remember when most of it was citrus. That's why we came here. I do understand that there's development. I do understand that there's different generations. My daughter grew up here. My grandkids grew up here. They've found jobs here. I do know that there should be other jobs. I mean, what are those jobs? Stores and restaurants? Okay, that's a certain thing, but I mean, are those viable jobs for 40 years from now? You're going to retire from those? I mean, I don't necessarily see that. I mean, other communities do different kind of jobs. Do I have the answer for that? I don't. But I just think don't jump into it. Get more information. You've made bad decisions before, council members have. Other councils have made really good decisions. Think about it. Think about it. And I'm coming from the Tree and Beautification Commission aspect in my mind that I want to see green space. The other thing, too, a lot of people have talked about in the years that I've lived here is that there should be, I commend Mr. O'Malley, I commend Bud Holman, I commend the citrus people, all the history that's here. I think it should be a museum, and it should, the developers did the 1-2 second mention of that. I agree with that. I don't know exactly how to go about doing that. I don't know who's going to come up with the money, but that's what I believe in, and I think the green space is the biggest thing. Don't give it away. Just don't make a snap decision. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Schwartz.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm George Blythe. I live all the way out at 90th Avenue, but I do have a very nice place on Bethel Creek Drive. So I'm a country boy who has a nice property in Vero Beach. Last night, and I'll try to keep this short, I really wasn't going to say anything. Last night I was reading this book, Florida's Hibiscus City, Vero Beach. I think it was written for the 50th anniversary. And in the back, it goes through all the people who created Vero Beach. I fortunately knew a lot of them. I came late. I didn't get here until 1980. But I met an awful lot of real nice people. And do you know that Alma Lee was a hero 50 years ago?
What's the title of the book? The title of the book?
It's a great book. I paid $40 for it. I don't remember where I bought it, but every once in a while one will come up at the Library Depot. Or you can go on.
I got one. No, I'm good.
No, I want a profit.
There we go.
The only thing I've really heard, I was going to regale you about stories about my grandfather in Brooklyn, who was a cop. And he used to call the McKeever brothers. They were really the fellows who bailed out Ebbett. And he used to call them to have them haul the dead horses off the roads of Brooklyn. And the reason they were the survivors or the saviors of the Dodgers was Ebbett was building his field and he ran out of money. So he called Mr. Wilson, who sold him baseballs. And Mr. Wilson said, gee, I don't have any extra money right now, but those Irish kids who sell me pelts and skins, who haul the dead horses off the street, they've got some money. And that's how really all the Dodgers got here, because my grandfather saved the Dodgers. No, coming way back, though, to the first or second discussion about the comment about deed restrictions. And the wording will be established at the time of whenever. If, in fact, it cannot be established by the developers, did you hear they can pick up all their marbles and you give them their deposit back and they can go home? Really, the county's your best bet.
Thank you, Mr. Blake.
I do. I want it back. Okay.
Shelley Adele, you can send cards and gifts to 2726 10th Avenue. I'm for a fiscally responsible decision by the City Council, and selling this property at a deficit does not seem to meet that. So I would advocate for keeping the property, and when you sell it in the future, sell it to someone that's not going to use my money a second time to purchase it. Thank you.
Linda Hillman, 2315 18th Avenue in Vero Beach. We're doing a lot of conversation tonight, and it's really good that everyone is open. But I just asked a few people a question that I'm not sure that any of you can answer. Why has that property not been utilized? Why has no council members? Why has the city not done anything for that property whatsoever? Question, Riverside Park is used for many events throughout the city. Why has this property been kept as vacant, no trespassing signs? Why haven't we tried to utilize that for a farmer's market or back to a 9-hole golf course? Why are we paying taxes on it? Why is everyone complaining about the upkeep of the property? Can someone answer why we've never used this property in the past 10 years? We had a woman speak about the city wanted her to do bids out to find out if we can get grants. Has anyone in the past looked into the grants? If so, what's happened to them? And if not, why not? These are all questions that no one has brought forward, no one has tried to answer yet. And I'm curious why we've not used this land. Why have we put no trespassing signs on it? Why have we not tried to use it?
Would you like me to answer that? I can answer that.
You can.
Well, I researched it, and with regard to the original purchase that was made by the council of 2005, and their intent was open space. They stated that very clearly. I did invite the 4 of the surviving members of that council to comment on the purchase that they made. 3 of the 4 did choose to respond, and their responses, and this was all posted, this is all available on the internet. This was at a previous council meeting. Was that about a month ago, Mrs. Bursick? Could you check it, and we'll give the date to everyone, if you wouldn't mind. Not this minute, I'll keep talking, but all of this is posted, my invitation to them, the history of it, the minutes of that meeting of 2005. It was a unanimous vote to purchase it. The city manager at that time, the interim city manager, Mr. Gabbard, urged them to make the purchase, or the land was going to be developed. It was deemed to be imminent development, I mean. So that was the original intent, and we've stayed with the original intent. It's stayed open space.
Well, Riverside is also open space, but yet the city allows events to go on, like the Pirates Festival, Arts Under the Oak. I don't understand why
I think
we can't use this for the same thing.
Well, perhaps what you're referring to would be the difference between open space and a park. You know, Riverside it's Riverside Park, and so of course, yes, it's available. It offers a host of amenities and is used for a variety of events, and could be considered developed to some extent, versus open space, which is just open space.
Okay,
the trespassing signs I'm not sure about. I'd have to ask the city attorney about that. If you know, or you know what, we can research that. I'm not familiar with the history of the trespassing signs.
I'm open for option number 3. I think we should look into other options to do with this area, and like everyone has stated before, I don't feel like buying it back again.
Yeah, well, I couldn't.
I really don't.
Couldn't agree with you more, as I stated earlier. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Just keep it. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, any other? What's that?
I'm sorry, I was just going to ask if we had any other council discussion. It's getting late. I want to make a motion just to keep it for now. And anybody who came in.
Let's find out first if anybody else wants to talk real quick.
Yes, of course.
Any other public comment on the matter? Okay, seeing none, public comments closed.
Okay. For those who came in late, because there's been different waves of people here, I did say hours ago that we have 2 pieces of property that will be coming into play within the next 5 years. One is the power plant property, and that will come into play within 1 to 2 years. The second piece of property is the wastewater treatment property, which will come into play within 3 to 5. All right, both properties right now, you will see, you can go on the city website, look up the city charter. They're both protected under section 5.05, all right, which means nothing can happen to them. They're protected. Nothing can be done with them in terms of selling them, leasing them, trading them, any kind of activity whatsoever. It needs to go to referendum. So it will, you will weigh in on what happens to those 2 pieces of property within the next, I'm going to say 1 to 5 years, all right? So what I'm thinking is, why don't we do that first? And, 1 to 5 years from now, maybe open space might look like a good thing. Maybe we'll want to make it into a park, and there is a distinction. Thank you for pointing that out, Mrs. Hillman. There's a distinction between the two. Maybe we will want it to be park. Maybe we'll want it to be something else. And by the way, there are a lot of really cool spaces on 14th Avenue. Cool spaces, cool places. 14th Avenue is just, it's great. It's a great, space. I mean, for young people, if you're looking for something to do, I highly recommend it. But at any rate, I would like to make a motion for the city not to sell the property at this time.
Lord, can we, fine with the motion, but we have a little bit of council discussion prior to...
Yes, you know what, I'll make the motion for discussion.
Perfect.
That's probably the perfect way, right? Is that good?
You don't need a motion for that.
You'll have to remove your first motion if that's the case.
Okay.
Well, it wasn't seconded, so let's just...
died for lack of second, it sounds like.
We're just going to have discussion.
Yeah, let's have a discussion first.
For purposes of discussion, that I moved not to sell the property for purposes of discussion at this time.
I don't have a lot of comment on it. I mean, I actually really thought this was a very good discussion, and I thought everyone made their good points, and I see the value of all 3 of the decisions. I came into this meeting thinking that I was going to vote for the development, and if I didn't, I was going to vote for the selling it to the county. But the only thing that's changed since I've listened to everything is I would vote to sell it to the developer, and otherwise I wouldn't vote to sell it at all. I personally don't think it's the right thing to sell it to the county, and But I really, my main thing is that I came away from this meeting more convinced, and I heard a lot of people, and I actually heard a lot more comments from the public than I expected that were in favor of the development, and they had some good reasons why. And I just feel like it's the right decision. I feel it. We don't have crystal balls. We don't know what's going to happen in the future, but I believe him. I believe him, and I guess that's just, maybe I'm gullible or something, but I trust them, and I think they're going to do the right thing, and I think it's going to be awesome, and I think I'm going to be spending a lot of time there. I came here with my 4 children, raising my 4 children. I have a business with lots of employees here in town. I think my employees will use these facilities. They'll enjoy it. It'll improve the quality of life in our community, and I think it'll be good for jobs. And I think it's not just restaurant and hotel jobs. This is right adjacent to the airport. The second part of this plan was not just to be working together with the Dodgertown, but also working with that airport. And that's going to be one area of potentially really good jobs coming out, and they're going to need office spaces. There's going to be more manufacturing there as the electric rates go down, and it's more conducive to doing aeronautics spin-offs and things like that. So I think this is the right thing to do, and that's how I'm going to vote.
Vice Mayor, any comments?
Yes, a lot. I'll try and keep it as brief as possible here. I want to thank a lot of people, everyone in the community, for coming out. This has been a really important evening. The last few meetings that we've discussed Dodgertown have been very one-sided, and so tonight to hear from all parties involved has been very eye-opening, and I appreciate that and thank the community. I want to thank Mr. Borcheller and Mr. Holbert for all of their sincerity, and it's very evident that you all care about Vero Beach, and I haven't put a lot of credence to the comments that paint you in any different light. So I want to thank you for all the thought and work and effort and time that you all put into this. Today has raised a lot of questions, additional questions for me. Something I mentioned earlier is we've already made our interest payment for this year. This is $660,000. Would have been great if we could have figured out how to do something prior to October 1st, but that wasn't the case. And so, I think that does give us a little bit of time to at least take a second to breathe. And so, I worried last meeting that a delay would cause you all to walk, and you've proven you're extremely sincere sitting here tonight, continuing to work with us. I think that a bit of further due diligence on the proposed site plan is in order. I'd like to see you bring within reason. I understand you're not going to continue to spin your wheels and invest in something that may not happen. But I'd like to see a site plan submitted to planning and zoning and get some feedback from them. I'd also like to have some proof of funds as well, because for me, the idea here is that if we sell you this property, it's you that we want to develop it, not the potential of the contract being assigned to someone else, or finding out that the two of you can't be the ones to do this development, because it's both of you that I see Vero in, and the potential of that development. So, I hope you'll continue to play ball with us here, and I hope you'll continue to move the ball forward. I want to thank the county and Chairman OBrien. There's no malevolent intentions here on anyone's side. This is probably the most difficult decision I've had to make on my 2 years on council, and I want to thank the county for their generous offer and for their forethought and for the potential of what that site could be under their management. But tonight also raised some additional questions about what county ownership would look like for me. And I think, those unanswered questions have given me some pause. I was, fully prepared to listen to what everyone had to say, and I thought coming into this that I was going to probably decide to move and sell to the county, but I think there's a need for some time for pause right now, and I think that from a taxpayer's perspective, the acquisition of this property and the times that it's changed hands has been embarrassing, and I would hate to burden our taxpayers, be they county or city, to purchase this thing again. So, my proposal is along the lines of Councilwoman Moss. I'd like to hopefully encourage the developers to give us a little bit more information and take a breather for a bit. I think the county's sincere, and I don't think that their offer is going anywhere. And so, I don't know that we need to make a decision on the future of this property tonight. And I know that's not what a lot of you want to hear, but it's better than the alternative, right? So that's it.
Councilman Young.
This evening, like my fellow councilmen have said, has really been an opportunity to learn across the board, because all of y'all have important points. In full, truthfulness, unequivocally, I was adamant that if we were to sell the property this evening, then the only way to go would be to go to the county, because I felt a trust in the county in looking at the long-term impact on the community, looking at the economic impact across the board. Also, I look at things in a historical perspective often, and I listened to Ruth probably a couple weeks ago, maybe, when she had mentioned that at one point there had some developers had some outlines over the top of McKee, and when we had the economic downturn along that road before, when 95 opened up and the other roads, that would have been the death nail of McKee, and we wouldn't have that ground today. And I had the opportunity to go out and chat with the people on Vero Isles about a year ago, and in the 90s, the city was looking at selling off the property that's my grandfather's park for developers, and we wouldn't have that today. So, I guess it's a bit of faith that you look to the future and you think to yourself, well, if we keep control of this land, then in the future there may be something that we can't see at this time. Michael Richter said, he advised the city not to sell the post office. He says, but if you insist upon this insanity, I'll buy it, okay? So hopefully we didn't have to go down that road with this. And from the perspective of history, I realized the race barrier was broken when Jackie Robinson played in New York. But I will assure you, had it not been for Vero Beach, the state of Florida would not be in where we are today, with the advance of the color barrier being smashed, because he came here for a reason, and I think that's one reason that we should be rightfully proud of who we are. And then the county also mentioned the fact that with additional time they would have better clarity on where Major League Baseball stands. And I think that works to our interest as well, because if we have more definition on that, then we have a better confidence in going down that road. And for Terry, I respect you unequivocally. Don't misconstrue my concerns. Just like Mr. Bean, who came to us, who is a hero in my eyes. I think you two are heroes. So please don't misunderstand my position. I think that you bring incredible talent to our community, and I'm glad that you're here. And maybe in the coming months, that will be the route to take. But at this point, I'm not there, and I think that Amelie gave us the best advice a month ago, and that is take some more time and give this consideration. And I think any one of you would respect the wisdom from a woman that's given her life in service to our community. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the county, by the way, very sincerely, because your offer coming forward allowed for this evening. It allowed for a much more broader-based discussion and also a longer discussion. So I'd like to thank you. It's been long. We started at 3 o'clock. It's 7 o'clock. It's been now, and thank you for sitting with us in the past too. You attended a past city council meeting, and that I think was very long too. Just thank you for everything you've done. I think you're very sincere, and I really appreciate it. Appreciate the opportunity to have this kind of discussion. And the developers, thank you for coming back again. The same thing. You allow the community to have a broader and a longer discussion and to put more time and thought into it. So thank you.
I don't want to, by the way, it doesn't matter what decision I make. Y'all may have heard me say this before. It doesn't matter what any of our decisions are. Somebody's going to be rubbed the wrong way. But I don't want to discount, I'm looking at my notes because I don't want to miss anything. I don't want to discount, I've got right in front of me right here, aside from our constituency and our friends and our neighbors, and thank you all for being here. I have a very good friend, Commissioner OBrien, and I have a good friend. We don't have breakfast as often, but Jason Brown sitting here, and talk to the man. But I don't want to discount what you've done. I've had roughly a month to think about what kind of a decision that I wanted to make, and obviously my first decision right off the cuff was, this is great, let's go with the county. And I had struggled with this decision, and I don't want what I'm about to say to have any influence on the relationships that we've been trying to build between the city and the county, and the projects that we currently have that we're working on together, that we may be working on in the future, because we are making some headway, especially over there in the aviation area. And we've worked very hard together on this FPL sale, and I appreciate everything that they've done. But some of the thoughts that I had to grapple with that come to mind with the builders here from Hobart, they have brought to light that they'd like to have a conference center. That goes well with business and a place to create and to do business. They've mentioned buildings that will complement our aviation district, and services that would also complement our aviation district as well as Dodgertown. They've made some promises that I honestly believe that they mean, and I think that they would stick to their word. The private sector wants to be successful. They have to be successful. And Mr. Brown, don't take any offense to this, because there are a lot of when you're in government, there are a lot of moving parts. And although you might want to be successful, and I believe you do, it might not be in your control all the time. Because government's backed by taxes. Remember Too Big to Fail? Remember that? That was our money, too big to fail. And so government doesn't have as big of a stake in the game. They have our stake in the game. And the fact that the builder came to say that, look, we've worked our hardest to keep 44% of this creation as undeveloped space, as green space. That's unheard of. Usually you get about 20, 25 max, so they've doubled that. And they're not just out-of-town developers. Mr. Borchler told us about how he's lived here for several years. He's known this town for several years, and he and his children have stock in this town. And he would not, I truly believe, would not want to do anything that would not be successful and give back to the community that he lives in, because he doesn't want all of us angry with him. So my hope would be that any project they do would be successful. I was thinking about the land that we use in the county and in the city. Bill Malone and Bobby Bird just opened a new business called Big Shots on US 1 next to Bill Malone's help me here, Dr. Zudan's.
Ophthalmology practice?
No. What's it called?
I can't say my competitor's name in public.
Anyway, you know what I'm talking about.
That would be free advertising.
So
it's just down the street from Florida Eye Institute. It's advanced eye care. Yeah.
So he's created this really neat place that the only other place like it is in Orlando. So we're going to have people coming from all over, from Palm Beach, especially from south, to utilize this place. And I've been there several times now, and you should just see all of the energy and everybody there of all age groups having a great time. It's really neat what he's created, and I hope he's very successful. Everything points in that direction. So it doesn't necessarily frighten me to have a piece of land with something developed and something placed on that land that all of us can use and enjoy, and can work symbiotically with the surrounding businesses and MLB and so forth. But if MLB doesn't come, I'm also afraid if the county has it, there's going to be a for sale sign. And we don't know what's going to happen there. So my vote tonight was going in favor of the builders of Pulbert. And doesn't sound like I have the votes for that, but I want that to be known.
Can I just make one comment about, and I understand exactly what Lang is saying about the concern about it, but having been on planning and zoning and understanding like how they go through this, I don't think they have the ability to take any of this stuff through planning and zoning, and it's just not the ability to do things on there is restricted by our planning and zoning laws, so that if they can't, and we even looked, this was all discussed when they came in and they talked about their initial plan, that they couldn't do things on certain areas on the north part of the property. They already know the rules of the planning and zoning. I don't think, well, it's not going to change my vote if they go through all that process and do that. So I just don't, I think it's just, I think they acted in good faith, and they brought their offer after we've been waiting for 3 years for an offer that was potentially acceptable, and I think we deserve to give them a decision on whether they're going to do it or not. If they can't come up with the money, then we're in the same position we were in, like your request for them to prove that they have the money to buy the property. Well, if they don't come up with the money, then we're no worse off than we are right now. We're just sitting there, instead of delaying, we're potentially moving forward. I'm in favor of moving forward, but
let me ask you this: if we were to put something in a contract that, if the development weren't able to happen in a certain period of time, then, we give them their money back, property reverts back to us?
I think I don't think it works that way, but I think you can. One thing you could do is a right of first refusal. If you didn't want them to take it and sell it to someone else, you do a right of first refusal at a discounted rate, like you do in 80% of their sale price, and that gives them the incentive that either they're going to develop this or they're going to lose 20% of what they paid. And I don't know if they would agree to something like that, but that is a potential way that you could accomplish that particular goal, I think.
And from a fiscal standpoint, it's, in my opinion, the best decision for the city. But that being said, the one issue that, we can all be friendly here, but if nothing happens there, I don't want to lose that piece of property. So I'd want to build some mechanism in that we can get the property back.
I think a right of first refusal on a sale at a discounted rate to what they paid for it is exactly how you do that. And we had initially had that term in one of the contracts with one of the properties we were selling. I think we tried to do that for the post office and building, and they declined. Is that correct? Yeah. So that would definitely solve that issue. Now, I have no idea whether they would be amenable to something along those lines.
Well, maybe, I don't know if you're prepared to answer that question, but maybe we should at least ask Mr. Holbert. He's not public comment. He's part of the...
We're requesting, we're city council, we have to make a decision, so we want to know the facts.
You decide to sell
Okay, so...
At any rate, we're not going to lose anything if we don't sell it in the first place.
I understand.
And if we do sell it, we already went over the numbers. It's only, we're taking in $2 million. We've already spent $5 million. It's already half paid for. But we're taking 2 point whatever. We still have debt service. We will still have a remaining balance of debt service larger than the sale.
I agree with all your, I understand all your arguments and the merit of your arguments, but just to clarify, we just asked if they would be amenable to a right of first refusal at a reduced rate for what we sold it for, and they said yes. So one option would be that if we decided that's what we wanted to do, we could, I guess we could approve the contract on the condition that terms of the contract include that, and also include the clarification of the terminology for deed restrictions on residential development.
May I point out also that the remaining debt is approximately 4 years worth of payments on the property, as we see today, $600,000, 2.4. So after 4 years, that's the same amount. Does that make sense?
Assuming the sale goes through, the current proposal is to pay off the remaining debt.
I understand.
Yeah,
that.
So
but that's the equivalent of 4 years of payments.
I think what we're discussing, I think, is an opportunity for those, for the developer to come back at a future date and give us what they will seek to do. Trying to work through an agreement tonight, I don't think is the right thing.
I for one, would like to do something like Mr. Zudans was speaking of instead.
No, I'm making a motion that we not act on this, do not sell the Dodgertown property tonight, at this time, not at this time.
I second it.
So we'll take a vote.
Yeah, development's not off the table for me at all, but I still have some unanswered questions.
Well, let's answer them now instead of making.
No, we're done for tonight. We need to get to parking. We've been at this now for more than 4 hours. But the people have been waiting to speak on parking since 5 o'clock. You know, we're used to waiting. They're not.
Okay.
You know,
I'm going to vote no on this motion because I think that we came here tonight, we should finish this. We should make a decision.
We are finishing it. We're not selling it at this time.
Laura, we're going to take a roll call, but would you please repeat your motion?
I move that we do not sell the Dodgertown property at this time.
And that was seconded.
And so we have to have roll call.
Dr. Zudans?
No.
Colonel Young?
Yes.
Councilwoman Moss?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sykes?
Yes.
Mayor Howell?
No.
Motion passes 3-2.
Thank you all again for being with us for so long.
I want to thank everyone who came this evening. Thank you so much.
Can I make a suggestion that before we lose everyone here, we go and instead of doing the election business, let's jump right into parking?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's
Yes,
what the
I
order.
agree. I agree, yes.
Yeah.
Can we take a break first?
Yeah, we've
Okay.
spent another 2 hours, so let's do 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chairman.
5 minutes.
Yeah, 10 minutes.
Yeah, let's take, you said 10?
10.
Okay, we're going to take a 10-minute recess. That's going to put us back here at 7:31.
7:30.